Radio.com. We give you a reason to come. The world's greatest radio. We give you a reason to stay. Radio, the way it should be heard. You got the power.
The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guest and not necessarily those of TalkTainmentRadio.com, the management, the staff, or K&E World Network, LLC.
This is The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio, the way it should be heard. And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse you.
We go where you go on the world's greatest radio. You are in touch with the compensatory concept with your co-host, Mr. Bobby. And this is radio the way it should be heard. We have, as usual, our guest, our speaker, our guide through these 2 hours, Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr., who is on the line live from Washington, D.C., which we will get to speak with him in just a few moments. We'd like to say again, thank you for your donations. We are now a 2-hour show, so don't forget to tell your friends that we are now on from 9 a.m. until 11 a.m. on Wednesdays, and that's thanks to you. And we will not do another fundraiser for another year, so you don't have that to worry about. So that gives us time for Mr. Fuller to be able to speak, and then it also gives time for you to ask your questions and make your comments, although we do want you to make them brief. And you can also write in, and we would like for you, especially when you Gmail me, to make your questions short and sweet. I don't have the time to read a novel that you may write as you try to express whatever point you want to get out. But if you can, condense whatever you write so that I may ask Mr. Fuller your question. He wants to answer or address your issues. So if you make them brief so that we can understand what you are saying, then that'll be great. Or you can call in, which I will give you the number, not right now, but I will give you the numbers where you can call in. And when you do, make them brief so he can address that and other people can understand whatever it is that you would like to say. Now, when I give you the time or the signal, you can call in, and I will give you the numbers, and then you can also Gmail me. And I will say this right off the bat, that if you do Gmail me today, more than likely it will not be read on today's program, that being the 6th of July, 2016. It will go into the question rotation, and my staff will look at that and then put it in rotation. So if you're writing me today, it's probably not going to get on. I can tell you that right now because we are loaded. Okay. Now, Mr. Fuller is the author of the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept, which I will have him speak about. Now, the old copy is still in circulation, but the new copy is now available. As a matter of fact, I have mine in front of me that I am looking at. It is a revised and expanded edition, a textbook workbook for thought, speech, and or action for victims of racism, which is white supremacy. It is beautiful the way that it is. It is a thick book. And then I also have in front of me the Compensatory Counter-Racist Codified Word Guide. And it's actually an addition to the textbook workbook for thought, speech, and or action for victims of racism, which is white supremacy. I personally think that these are required reading, and as I spoke with Mr. Fuller last week, if you go to the website, which he will give in just a few moments, you can get your copy of the book. There is no backlog on that book that you can get now, and so you want to get the it's called the Revised Expanded Edition of the Compensatory Counter-Racist Code. You want to get that, 2016 by Neely Fuller Jr. So all that is out of the way. Let me say good morning to Mr. Fuller and introduce him to some and present him to others, Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Good morning, Mr. Fuller.
Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, I can barely hear Mr. Fuller here. Okay, can you hear me, Mr. Fuller?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, well, maybe it's me on this end. Okay, good morning. Let's see, before we get into where we left off last week, speak about the book, where we can get it, and all the pertinent details that you want to get out about the Revised Expanded Edition.
Well, it's just a revised expanded edition of the basic book. The basic book is still valid, but it's just new material. People have asked questions down through the years. They wanted more details on some things. I've tried to give a few more, a substantial number of answers to questions that people have asked and things that people want addressed in greater detail. And so that's why I had to make the book a little thicker.
Yes, sir.
But most of the material that was in the older book is in the new book, too. It's just on different pages and all like that.
Okay.
But that's basically what it is. It's just an updated version of the 1984 edition.
Mm-hmm.
So this will be the 2016 edition of the same book. But it's thicker. It doesn't include a word guide because now I have a word guide that's a separate volume, but it's an addition to the basic book.
Mm-hmm.
You can get one or the other of the books by going to producejustice.com.
Mm-hmm.
That's producejustice.com, and it should come up on the screen and the method for ordering right now.
Okay. Now, has the overseas or around the world area of getting the book, has it been addressed?
It hasn't been. It's in the process of being done right now.
Mm-hmm.
I was informed as of yesterday that they are setting that up so that will be on the website at a future date.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't given a date yet, but that for the overseas shipments, they are in the process of finalizing the details on that.
Alrighty. Now, another thing that was brought to my attention was people who are, and I'm not going to call their names, but for lack of a better term, that are actually, I guess, bootlegging your process under the authority that you supposedly have given them, which I have found out that you did not authorize somebody to make copies or T-shirts or whatever these people are doing using the Produce Justice or whatever. I have seen some of the T-shirts. I have seen some of the materials, and I know that somebody on the staff that, let's say, protects you, so to speak, and protects myself, is on there taking that kind of stuff down. And we need to speak about that, and you need to have words out so people can understand your validity or how to obtain the true copy rather than supporting these, if you will, bootleggers.
Well, the true copies go to producejustice.com or talktainmentradio.com. That's my central source of producing what I produce. Producejustice.com, talktainmentradio.com. That's it. Anything outside of that, some of it may be supportive, but most of it will be suspect. The reason for that is I'm not trying to keep people from helping me to carry out the mission, as some of them say.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm saying the white supremacists know how to distort the message of the United Independent Compensatory Code System concept or anybody else's counter-racist message. The white supremacists are greatly skilled at that. They know how to cause confusion, and they'll do this themselves by saying, that they are black. They will come on the internet. Nobody knows. And so therefore you get a lot of things, a lot of messages that are supposed to be associated with Neely Fuller's work that's really coming directly from the white supremacists or indirectly through black people that they have put up to do this. So I'm saying go to producejustice.com or come to Talktainment Radio or something where you actually hear Neely Fuller's voice. Where you actually hear him, not somebody's editorialized version of Neely Fuller's message or something like that. And that's all it is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, like I said.
And every now and then I will reiterate that so that there won't be, or at least we'll be able to minimize the confusion.
Yes, because
it's a serious message.
Yes, it is, because I have.
It's not anything I would think. When you start talking about trying to get rid of racism and replace it with justice, that's serious, and it shouldn't be trivialized.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't be made into something. As a sport or something like that.
Yes, I know that I was astounded to see the great lengths that people have gone to pretend, if I could use that word, that this information is coming from you using all types of techniques to make it sound as if it really were you and that you actually endorse this. But I'm glad that you mentioned the only places where the legitimate source can be gotten, your website, producejustice.com, and
on AM, FM radio, or where someone is actually saying, in other words, it's actually my recording without anything infused into it, anything added to it or subtracted to it,
mm-hmm.
or somebody editorializing saying that this is what, this is Neely Fuller's voice.
Right.
And imitations and this type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yes. And that's just very important that we get that message out before we get into the show, because like I said to the listeners, I have seen some of this stuff, and it looks just about authentic. The voices, the cartoons, caricatures. I've seen all kind of stuff, and I'm really hurt that. And some of those people are listening today, but I'm really hurt that somebody would stoop like that, to do that, and then profit from that. That's not good. But anyway, I'm glad, Mr. Fuller, that you addressed that. Talktainment Radio is a 24/7 no-charge worldwide broadcasting facility that have hosts delivering on various topics such as news and lifestyle, sports, health, wellness, and of course religion and politics. Now, here's one very quickly that I would like to mention to you, and it is called At the Table with Al Warner. Now, Al Warner is a host here at the table and fighting wherever needed for social justice issues and urban education reform. An architect of the CCS Innovative Schools Initiative and equity policy, Al has vigorously worked against bad practices and policies and to inform district leaders and legislators on the best practices to reform urban education. Now, At the Table with Al Warner is broadcast on Wednesdays exclusively here on TalkTainmentRadio.com, and that is radio the way it should be heard. Okay. Now, the phone lines are going to be open here very shortly, but right now, this is a segment that I have entitled Neely Fuller Speaks. And Mr. Fuller, the floor is yours, and what is your topic?
Well, someone said something last week, and I wanted to get to it so that we can kind of move fast here. They said something about the sexual confusion that the white supremacists are promoting. And that's among the non-white people of the entire world. And so they asked me to reiterate a statement that I had made. So I'm going to read the statement again. This is just in my notes. This is not in the textbook itself, even though I cover a lot of material on sexuality, a lot of it, in both the former basic book and the new revised expanded edition. But here is a statement from my notes. Apparently, according to some of the plans of the white supremacists, the black female vagina and its value is to become obsolete, and the white male anus is to be the new black vagina for black males. Black females are directly or indirectly being taught that the holy grail of supreme sexual real estate is the white female vagina. I'm going to say that over again. Apparently, according to some of the plans of the white supremacists, the black female vagina and its value is to become obsolete, and the white male anus is to be the new black vagina for black males. Black females are directly or indirectly being taught that the holy grail of supreme sexual real estate is the white female vagina, unquote. Now, you can take that for what it's worth, and the first thing you should look at when anybody makes a statement, particularly Neely Fuller, is this true? That's the first thing you look at when anybody says anything about anything. First thing, if they're making a statement about something, you want to know, is it true? I'm saying that it is, based on the evidence so far. Now, anyone who says, that's not true, this is all about sexual liberation. People have been pent up about sexuality. And, I mean, it's time for people to just be open about their sexuality, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yes. Well enough. But the white supremacists always have a plan in all 9 areas of activity for the non-white people of the planet, in regardless of what the scenario is going to be. If the scenario is going to be economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, or war, the white supremacists always have a special plan for the non-white people of the planet. It's not going to be the same as for the white people, even though it will be made to appear so. The white supremacists are experts at being deceitful. They're the masters of deceit. So anytime they come up with anything, a new economic system, a new educational system, a new religion, or modifications for an old religion, and they hand any part of that to the non-white people of this planet, the white supremacists will make sure that the part that applies to the non-white people is going to put them at some kind of disadvantage. You can count on it. So all this new forms of sexuality, I'm telling people, be suspicious of it on a grand scale. They are working feverishly, because they know that sexual inclinations, sexual power is extremely influential in people's behavior. So anything pertaining to non-white people, they have special plans for the non-white people.
Okay. There you heard the statements. And the phone lines I'm going to open now. You can call in now at 1-877-932-9766. Or you can Gmail me at 7Mr. Bobby, the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, at gmail.com, and I will throw your question, or it will go into the question rotation. Okay, we have a phone call. What line here? Line number one. Line number one, you are now on with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. What is your question?
Hello?
Hello.
Oh, hello. Listen, I was calling you because the program is not coming through the internet.
Yes, we are addressing that even as we speak. I was told when I arrived at the studio this morning that it's not up to full power, but even as we speak, it is. They're working on it to try to get it up. I don't know if it will be accomplished on today's program, but it is being addressed and worked on.
I just want to also say, because our elder teacher dropped the bomb in terms of defining how the black woman is going to become or is obsolete in terms of protection, that you have to add extra security because they don't want the people to understand this. And we have to remember that this elder was the mentor of our beloved Dr. Cress Wellesley, okay? So when he gets to a kernel of truth, of course there's going to be difficulty, because he said that was going to be the number one issue that he was going to address. So could you please see if we can listen to him through the telephone, because this is why I'm on the telephone.
Okay.
But you see what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And again, the technicians are feverishly working to get that up, and it is a problem, but we are working on it. And again, thank you for making us and the other listeners aware that some of the programming is not getting through. Thank you so much for your call.
I love you, elder teacher. This is Deborah. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right, Sabora. Mr. Fuller, would you care to comment on that?
Yes, but here again, sometimes the lady is correct. Sometimes I do not hear the question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, she's gone now, but basically, she has. It's not on your end. I understand that we're having problems, I think, with the broadband or whatever it is. I'm not technically with that stuff, but a lot of the callers may not be able to hear what you have to say, and she's calling on her phone so that she can get through and try to hear the program. And then she was wondering if there was something on our end that we could do so that people who cannot hear over the internet can get through over the phone. I don't know, about that, but she was also indicating that the work is so powerful that she was wondering if forces are out to prevent this great work that you have done, and also Dr. Welsing have produced. She was wondering if there were some things that was going on to prevent that, word from getting out. Because as you get closer to the truth and exposing stuff, then other forces come into play. You care to comment about that?
Oh, yes. The white supremacists, that's what they do. They don't want anything, to put them out of business. White supremacy is a business. The system of white supremacy is the most successful business operation among the people of the planet
worldwide
in recorded history.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to stay in that business. And what is the purpose of the business? To dominate and mistreat non-white people for the purpose of what most people want out of their existence: fun, glory, and material gain. This is why all people want fun. All people want glory. They want people to appreciate them, look up to them for something or another. and for material gain. People like to have comfort. You know, people don't like pain, like to get away from pain.
Yes.
So the white supremacists have come up with a system of, well, they say, well, we're going to mistreat people in the process, but hey, I mean, you know, this is the business we have chosen.
Yes.
As they say in an organized criminal facility. So we'll just devote ourselves to it and see where it takes us. And so far, it has taken us to great heights.
Great heights.
No one has exceeded this. So we're going to try to keep it and stay in business.
All right.
I mean, the system of justice, that's an excellent idea, but we might have to give up something in a system of justice.
Okay.
And we're not willing to do that.
All righty. Let's go to line number 2. Line number 2, you are now on with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. What is your question?
Yeah, brother, I don't have a question, but please allow me to make a comment.
If it's short, okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
Brother.
Go ahead.
I'm just glad to be allowed in the class.
All righty.
As for confusion, the white power structure is creating a Middle East-West right before our eyes, and most people have no idea it's going down. Now, if they can destabilize country across the world, and they have, then certainly they can pretend to destabilize America. And this is what we're seeing now. Now, we must cast away illusion and try to prepare for extermination as best you can or see fit. He that will not apply new remedies must expect new evils. We haven't applied any new remedies, so we will be getting new evil, which will be our extermination. Now, when I speak about getting out of here, brothers, and getting your loved ones out of here if you can, someone would call and say, well, there's people trying to get to America. But let me say this. People have different reasons for leaving the country. A lot of people coming to America, they are economic refugees. They trying to come for a better life, get a job washing dishes, do anything. Some people leave a country, like some refugees just got here not too long ago. They was running for their life. That was people that left Vietnam when they ran America out of there. They came here. They came here running for their life because they was helping America. If we see that they have been to exterminate us here, and you are able to get out of here, you are not going to be an economic refugee. You're going to be trying to get out of a burning house. Now, when I speak about this extermination, people say, oh, no, they're not going to exterminate us all because, you know, they're going to have exterminating of a people do not mean all the time that you're going to kill every single person. The Indians in this country were exterminated. But you can go out west and still find a few Indians. But they was across this country from New York to California, from Florida to Canada. They was decimated as a people.
30 seconds, sir.
Okay, the same thing is going to happen to us. Of course, they not going to kill all these young boys and girls. They're going to keep them for their pleasure. But the masses of black people in this country, they are going to put them in the ground.
Oh.
They will keep a few for their pleasure. To the victor go the spoils.
All righty. Thank you for
Thank you, brother.
All righty. TalkTimeRadio.com. We go where you go. And check us out on WCRS-FM 98.3 Wednesday and Saturday evenings. Blogs and podcasts are available. You can download the TalkTimeRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. Stay right there. TalkTimeRadio.com. We go where you go. And you can download the TalkTimeRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. This is Mr. Bobby, the co-host of the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., and if you would like to get in contact with the show, you may do so by calling 1-877-932-9766. Or you can Gmail me at 7mrbobby@gmail.com, and we will put your question in the question rotation. don't forget, Mr. Fuller has now revised and expanded his edition of the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. That book is now available. You can get it by going to producejustice.com. And also, the Word Guide is also available for you to get, for an additional fee. So that is going to producejustice.com. Mr. Fuller addressed that issue in the first hour, and he will again address that in the second hour. So make sure you get your copies of that. Mr. Fuller, because our phone lines are jammed and I have to get some of these emails in, from the last caller, could you give just maybe a 1 minute talking to, I think he mentioned his view of extermination. Just 1 minute.
Well, the gentleman said that, he gave his opinion.
Yes.
So the compensatory response to that is, he said what he said. So people can evaluate what he said and come to their own conclusions or their own viewpoints based on what he said. I can't contaminate what he said or, except to say that he said what he said. That's what the compensatory code system concept calls for me to do.
Yes, sir.
He made a series of statements. He said he did not have a question.
Okay.
So therefore, you just evaluate his statements for whatever use that you think that you can get out of it that will help you to think, speak, and act in the manner that will help to do what all of us are supposed to be doing, solve problems.
All righty.
So we'll just leave it at that.
Okay. All righty. All right. Again, my brother, thank you for calling in. I have a question here before we get to the phone lines. Apparently, I missed it last week, but again, questions fall in the rotation that they came. So this one is just a little bit expedited, but I can't guarantee that this will ever happen again. Anyway, the question is, Mr. Fuller, what is your concept of God Creator? Why do you think the Creator is allowing black people to suffer like we are, and for so long? And do you think white people will ever willingly stop practicing racism, white supremacy? Why or why not?
Well, as far as what the Creator's intentions are for doing anything, my answer is I don't know. People have asked me that, but I don't know any more than what the average preacher would say of any different religion. People have different religious perspectives, and you can listen to those perspectives and find out, why did God create anything? And what is it all about? What is our existence? What is the existence of all of the planets about? All of the animals, all of the creatures, all the insects. Do they have souls? And if so, what are these souls supposed to be doing and motivating to do in order to ultimately accomplish what? My answer is I don't know.
Okay.
But I do so say that we are here, and I came to the conclusion many years ago that in the form of people, we're here to solve problems. Why? Because we're given problems to solve. And so that's the conclusion I've come to. So what problems are you supposed to be solving if you are a person on the planet? The ones that are right in front of you. And some years ago, I came to the conclusion, well, if we're here to solve problems, and the reason is, the logic is, we must be here to solve problems because we're given problems to solve. So therefore, what problems do we solve? The ones right in front of you, the ones that you're given. Not everybody's in the same place at the same time with the same set of problems. So each and every person who is put into the universe, problems are confronting that person immediately. I think that's why babies come here crying, because they are aware that this is a problematic world. And even though their brains haven't kicked in yet, their spirit picks it up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think babies come here crying because of that.
Okay.
They don't come here laughing.
Yes.
So that's the conclusion I've come to. We're here to solve problems. So I came to the conclusion some years ago that if you are a person of color, your biggest problem is getting rid of people dominating and mistreating people based on color.
Yes, sir.
And that came in the form of this system of white supremacy.
Yes, sir.
So I say that should be the priority for every person who has color in his or her skin. Replace the system of white supremacy with the system of justice. And then after you do that, then you handle whatever other problems come down the pipe.
Okay. So then your answer to that second or third part, do you think white people will ever willingly stop practicing racism and white supremacy would be?
Oh, they haven't so far. So therefore, you need a counter-racist code to prompt that in that direction.
Okay.
And that's what I've tried to write.
Okay.
In other words, standing around waiting on them to make up their minds as to whether to keep racism or get rid of it, it takes too long.
Yes, sir.
And they have been on this watch too long.
Okay.
So therefore, those white people who believe in getting rid of it should get rid of it. They're in the excellent position to do so. But evidently, they don't show a lot of interest in doing so because it's still here.
It's still here.
So therefore, the victims of racism have to have a counter-racist code, and I've tried to write one for eliminating the system of white supremacy and replacing it with a system of justice.
Okay. All righty. Before we go to the phone lines, let me get this station out, break out a line. TalkTimeRadio.com, because Galen will give me the sign. TalkTimeRadio.com. We go where you go. And you can download the TalkTimeRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. This is Mr. Bobby, the co-host on the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. And we have various topics that we have been discussing, and we will discuss even more in the second hour. But right now, we're going to take your phone calls, and you can call in by calling 1-877-932-9766, or you can Gmail me at 7mrbobby@gmail.com. And line number three, you are now on.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Fuller and Mr. Bobby. I think you just answered part of my question, Mr. Fuller, but it's a short two-part question I'll ask anyway. The first part is, will following the code make victims smarter than the white supremacists? That's part one. And part two, if the victims are smarter, can they defeat white supremacy?
Okay.
Yes. Smart people always dominate people who are not smart. That's the way it works. But we're not after domination. We're just trying, or should be, trying to eliminate an evil governmental system called the system of white supremacy and or racism, and replace it with what? Replace it with a system of justice, which would mean what? And I came up with a compensatory definition for the word justice, because the ones that I saw in every dictionary I've ever looked at was inadequate. It wasn't specific enough so that you can measure what you're doing. So I came up with one some years ago, and it takes two parts: guaranteeing that the person who needs help the most gets the most constructive help, and guaranteeing that no one is mistreated. Now, that's never been done by anybody. But in every area of activity, you have to guarantee, in order to have justice, you have to guarantee that no one is mistreated. And you have to guarantee that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help
yes,
in every area of activity. And that's what you're trying to should be trying to replace the system of white supremacy with.
Okay.
Otherwise, there's no point in replacing the system of white supremacy. And you should have a code for doing this, because by non-white people adopting this code, the concept is, and it hasn't been proven yet, we have to prove whether the concept works or not, by saying and doing certain things that are counteracting what the white supremacists are doing. And it's not secret, it's open. It's what they do. They operate on secrecy and whatnot. But you have the correct intentions. People who are always trying to mistreat someone is always acting in secret. So a lot of things that the white supremacists do is very secretive. A counter-racist code It's not secretive. That's why you can do it right in the open. I'm on the air right now saying what to do. I have written a book that that everybody can look at. White people, non-white people, white supremacists, they can look at it, but it's designed to put the white supremacists out of business.
Yes.
And you can sit and tell at a table and tell them that. If a person says, I'm a white supremacist, you say, well, sir, if you're a white supremacist, it means my duty is to put you and your operation out of business. That's my duty. It's not personal, it's business. Because we need a better world than the world that we have based on mistreating people based on color. We need a better world than that, sir.
All righty. All right. Thank you, my brother. I'm sorry, but thank you for your two questions. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Okay. We're talking, we opened up the program, and the day's topic is sexual confusion, and Mr. Fuller had made a statement about that. Mr. Fuller, is that statement in front of you again? Because some may have just come in and wondered what we were speaking about before we take the next call. Can you repeat that statement? Do you have it in front of you?
You mean the racist strategy for sexual confusion
yes,
among
sir.
non-white people?
Yeah, when you first started. Yes, that's the one.
Okay, I'll read it again.
Okay.
Apparently, according to some of the plans of the white supremacists, the black female vagina and its value is to become obsolete, and the white male anus is to be the new black vagina for black males. Black females are directly or indirectly being taught that the holy grail of supreme sexual real estate is the white female vagina. Unquote.
Okay. All righty, let's go to the phone lines, and we are on line number one. Line number one. You are now on with Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr. What is your question?
Yes, good morning. Thank you, Mr. Fuller, Mr. Bobby, and particularly Mr. Fuller, thank you so much. You're absolutely right, and when you said that sentence the way you did, what it encouraged me to think further about is that I see all of this as a birth control plan, and it's an invisible, visible birth control plan, and it's going to stop the breeding of specifically of the non-white people. It's going to stop the black people from breeding, because I was listening to C-SPAN, and when they made a comment, well, the United States population is only 6% of the total world population. And so that means that there are 94%, this other 94% are the other people who are located in other places. And so then I started thinking, of this 6%, black people are supposed to be 20 to 30% of the 6%. And so then that started my mind rolling and thinking of an equation, and I was trying to come up with a formula for what year the black Americans specifically will be out of the United States. And also, this is just some of the background stuff. As I was listening to C-SPAN, they had a program on where there were nothing but they were Hispanic people, and they were talking just a couple of months ago. And under the Republican group, so-called, they're called the new majority. So I'm saying, well, there's this new majority. Are they already the new majority now? Or this is, of course, it sounds like a plan, because everything they were talking about was future-oriented. And the other thing that I will add in is that whenever I go to the mall or whenever I'm out, I see pregnant Hispanic people, and the man and the woman, he's looking grungy and a little tired, but they're together and they have like 4 or 5 children. And so Mr. Fuller is 100% correct. And what's going to happen is that we used to say that, well, all of these unwed black mothers, but what's going to also be part of the unwed black mothers is that there aren't going to be any unwed black mothers, and there aren't going to be any black women getting any of the welfare, because the Hispanics will be getting the welfare, and the Ethiopians will be getting the welfare, because I took the opportunity to look at the form, and the form has information for the Ethiopian people. I'm not putting them down, but it's written in their own language script.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's written in Hispanic. So yes, it's a nefarious birth control plan, and in my equation, I have that we should be off the planet by 2105.
Okay. All righty. Thank you for your comment very much. Mr. Fuller, would you care to address her comment? I know there's a compensatory code with that, but in your observations of this, what do you think?
Oh, well, first of all, there's no such thing as racism in boxes. I mean, you know, we got to get that out of our minds. We have three categories of people on the planet when you start talking about race or color: white, non-white, and white supremacists. That's it. Don't get into that chopping it up into Hispanic and Ethiopians and all that. No. Don't go nowhere near that. That's confusion. The white supremacists want that. It's white, non-white, and white supremacists. And you erase all the lines on every map. That's the first thing you do. The white supremacists pay no attention to lines on maps. There's no such thing as the United States of America when you start talking about race. There's no such thing as Africa. There's no such thing as Asia when you start talking about race. Africans, Asians, and Americans, according to compensatory counter-racist logic, do not exist. So if you don't have Africans, you don't have Asians, and you don't have Americans, who are these people walking around on this planet? They are white people, non-white people, and white supremacists. If you move outside of those parameters, you're going to get confused. Because the white supremacists, they are the ones who put lines on maps and say, this is Asia, this is Europe, this is this place, this is that place, this is America, this is not America, this is a part of America. I mean, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's a white supremacist talk. That's what they do. But they don't recognize any of that because America has not been produced yet. America is a concept, just like the United Independent Compensatory Code System concept, what I have written. It's only a concept. It doesn't exist. Asia doesn't exist. There's no definition for Asia. And Africa doesn't exist. There's no concise definition for Africa or for African American. There are white people who can call themselves African Americans. Why? Because they were born in so-called Africa, Johannesburg, been there, go back generations, then they come to a place like London or Paris or New York City, and they take out citizenship, and if they take out citizenship in Utah, they call themselves Americans, and they say that they have African ancestry. Why? Because they were born in Africa. Lots of black people who were born in New York City have never been anywhere close to Africa. So, but they will call themselves African Americans. So what have you got when you got that? You got mass confusion. That's what you got. And the white supremacists are saying, these people are impossibly ignorant. They haven't figured out what we're doing yet. We look at the entire universe every morning when they are just studying their neighbors or studying their navel, and they don't go any farther than that. And we got to get the language straight first. Get all of the language of counter-racism straight first. And since I have been taking up a lot of time this morning, talking about this racial sexual confusion, but I haven't mentioned what to do about it. Counter-racist codification is what to do about it. So I'm going to introduce right now what to do about it. there's about 4 categories now of sexualities. One is lesbian. I think it's 5 official ones, and I think it's about 3 or 4 unofficial ones that they're adding on. Somebody's adding on, but I think it's LGBTQ. That's what we have now. That L is for lesbian, G is for gay, B is for bisexual, T is for transgender, and Q, I've been told, is the new category, and I don't know what that actually means, but it's supposed to be queer. But what consists of the queer category, I don't know what that is. I haven't been told. I haven't read enough on it. But maybe, someone can punch it up on the computer, because that's now a new category called Q for queer. But I say, since everybody's adding categories now under the democratic system, okay, I say you should have a counter-racist sexuality that consists of a white male, non-white male with a non-white female. That's a non-white male with a non-white female who are interacting with each other sexually, but with the objective, the ultimate objective, of replacing the system of white supremacy with the system of justice, and with the ultimate goal after that of becoming universal man and universal woman. But the category will be counter-racist sexuality. So you can just add that one to the lexicon, to the list of different types of sexualities that are going to present themselves. In fact, in the new textbook for victims of white supremacy, I have a whole section there where I list a number of potential sexualities that the white supremacists may come up with. And you can probably look for some of them. I mean, because I have quite a few of them that I have hypothetically listed that they might come up with in order to do what? In order to confuse the non-white people of this planet. Because when you confuse people sexually, you don't have to confuse them in anything else.
All righty. Well, when you hear the music, that's going to be the close of the first hour, TalkTameItRadio.com. Hey, welcome to the second hour of the compensatory concept, heard exclusively on TalkTameItRadio.com. We go where you go on the world's greatest radio. You are in touch with the compensatory concept. I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby, along with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., and this is Radio the Way It Should Be Heard. You can call in by calling 1-877-932-9766, or you can Gmail me at 7mrbobby@gmail.com. We started out the first hour with the topic of sexual confusion, and that's been our theme throughout the whole first hour, and we will continue that in the second hour. We're going to have Mr. Neely Fuller repeat sometime in this second hour the opening statement that he made in the first hour concerning this, so that you will know where we are at. We realize that we get listeners tuning in at all different times, and they may have missed the first hour and do not understand what we're talking about and why we are talking about it. So we want to be clear on that, so that if we do make a mistake, that we can correct it, because we want to be correct in that. So you can call in at 1-877-932-9766 or 7mrbobby@gmail.com. Also, while we are on this, thank you again for your donations that have, we are fully funded, so there will be no more fundraising for this year, maybe next year. And the way things are going, people, you know what? This bad boy could go 3 hours. I mean, it is jumping off the hook. Phone lines are jumping off the hook. It's just blowing up in a positive way, and that is good. Let's see here. Listen, you need to get your copy, and I have mine, of the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. I have the revised, expanded edition. Now, Mr. Fuller in the first hour indicated that the first copy is still valid. There's a lot of great information in that first copy, but he expanded and revised this particular copy for 2016. Counter-racist code, and I mean, it's thick, but it is just, I don't have the adjectives or superlatives to properly address it, but that is on for purchase, and also the counter-racist codified word guide is also available, and you can get that by going to producejustice.com, producejustice.com, and all the information that you need to get this book, and it is available now. It is available. You heard that from Neely Fuller Jr. He talked to his people, and it's up, so you can now order your copy. No more backlog, so I understand that. Okay, let's see here. Let me go to the phone lines, and line number what? 2. Okay, line number 2. You are now on with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. What is your question? And turn your radio down, please. Okay, go ahead.
Hey, how's it going? Thank you, Brother Bobby and the Neely Ford. Just to comment on one thing Neely Ford was saying, it's the last statement he made about LGBT and now Q.
LGBT and Q, yes.
And Q, yeah, that Q is for queer, and from a analysis, it's just my opinion. The queer seems to refer to something unusual, very different. So it's not necessarily putting you in any category, like of being gay or transgender. Actually, a male can wear a female garment and be considered a queer in that case, because he's still a man. He still wants to, be a man at the end of the day, but he just wears female garment, or vice versa. So it's anything that's unusual outside of, that's my understanding of it.
Okay.
But actually, I just have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Because I'm a young gentleman trying to understand and learn every day. And Neely Fuller, I just want to know who were people that you looked up to, and scholars and activists that you looked up to. Because if it wasn't for Frances Cress Wilson, rest in peace to Frances Cress Wilson, if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't know who you are. I wouldn't have no idea who Neely Fuller was. So she pointed me in your direction. So there has to be some scholars or people in the past that you've looked up to, that you've gotten your knowledge from. And I just want to know, as a young man looking to learn more every day, who are some people I can go to in this generation besides Neely Ford and Dick Gregory and Cress Wilson? Who are others I can go to?
All right, thank you for your call. Mr. Fuller, you care to address that?
Well, for one thing, part of the codification is you don't look up to anybody, any person, and you don't look down on any person. You just look straight across, and you listen to everybody who has something to say. People who absolutely disagree with anything that you're saying or doing, listen to them.
Yes.
You might be able to get something out of that.
Yes.
I mean, this is how you improve, by people who will criticize you. You stop and think. You just have basically one question. If somebody says something to you that you are uncomfortable with or something like that, somebody says something to you or about you, first thing you want to know is it true? Not who's saying it. Is it true? Always look for the truth coming from anyone. So that's what I did. I just listened to everybody. I listened to white people, who would use the N-word, right in my presence and whatnot. And rather than get angry and whatnot, I would just study them while they're talking and listen to what they say and all the details of what they say. And even when they slip up and apologize, I would sometimes tell them, I say, you don't have to apologize. Just keep rolling. Just keep talking. See, I'm learning. I'm learning all the time you're talking.
Still learning.
Yes, still learning all the time. Always be in that learning mode. Learn from everybody. back when I was coming along, I used to feast on, I used to read, I think I read the book Huckleberry Finn. It has the N-word in it. I think I read that book at least 6 or 7 times.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed that book, even with the N-word all through the book. I learned a lot by reading the works of Mark Twain. I learned a lot by reading Marcus Garvey, Richard Wright, and most of the writers, James Baldwin, the Alex Haley that wrote the autobiography of Malcolm X. I learned a lot. I read everything that I can get my hands on, the newspapers that say derogatory things about black people. I don't turn that off. I want to hear that. I want to hear what they're saying. And the main thing I want to know is, when I listen or when I read, is it true? That's what I look for, the
yes,
truth.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because you have to go with the truth, regardless of what it is, regardless of where you find it. And then you start thinking about, now, if it is true, should it be true? That's the next question. And if it shouldn't be true, then you try to come up with something to see to it that is not true any longer. And if it is true and it should be true, that's the part that you keep.
Yes, sir.
That keeps it real simple. And once I got on that wavelength, I felt like I was on the road that I should have been on the earlier part of my life, because I didn't really start thinking, piecing it all together until I was around 26 years old. I was doing a lot of thinking, a lot of reading. I had a lot of confusion up until about age 26. Then the confusion started going away because of that technique that I was using.
Yes, sir.
Or the strategy, or just falling into that pattern of behavior of listening to everybody. You know, not looking up to anybody, not looking down on anybody, because one thing I found out early was that even the greatest of minds make mistakes.
Yes, yes,
right?
Yes.
And even the weakest of minds say something every now and then that makes a lot of sense.
A lot of sense.
Right.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's a very good analogy, Mr. Fuller, because I know personally I have a problem, which is my problem, of listening to, let's say, Fox News, for example. But as I am still learning about the system, then I have to force myself to listen to it because they may be correct or something. And I have begun to ask those questions, is whatever they're stating true or not true? So I am in concurrence with what you are explaining to all of us, because I'm still a student and still learning also. I got to get this out the way. Talktainment Radio is a 24/7, no-charge, worldwide broadcasting facility that have hosts delivering on various topics such as news, lifestyle, sports, health, wellness, religion, and, of course, politics. Now, here's one that I would like to share with you, and hopefully you'll get to tune into this. It's called Fight Back with Bob Fortakis. And what he does is he's a legend in this particular area, but a legendary citizens advocate and political agitator. Bob revives his public affairs talk radio program called Fight Back. The confusion of disputed election results, unequal cuts to public school funding, and hate groups and speeches are only some of the issues that Bob Fortakis takes to task, and he does a marvelous job on that. Now, Fight Back with Bob Fortakis is broadcast on Wednesdays, and it is heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com. And if you have not heard that, you need to listen to Mr. Fortakis and that show. It is very good. But it is exclusive here on Talktainment Radio. That is radio the way it should be heard. My name is Mr. Bobby. I am the co-host of the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., who is on the phone right now answering your email or Gmails and also your questions. And if you would like to get in contact with the show, you may do so by calling 1-877-932-9766, or you can Gmail me at 7MrBobby at gmail.com, and I will put your question in the question rotation, and you will get it. And I am deliberately speaking slowly because I was informed that I may at some point be speaking too fast, so I want people to be able to get the information that you need. We start out the program, the 2-hour program, with today's subject, which is sexual confusion. Mr. Fuller has addressed that, but for those who are now tuning in, I'm going to have Mr. Fuller read us the statement that he made concerning that, and then we will take your questions and comments. So, Mr. Fuller, would you read that statement again before we take the next call?
This statement is from my notes.
Yeah, from your notes.
It's racist, which means white supremacist strategy for sexual confusion among non-white people. Now, this is an opinion, and the quote is this: apparently, according to some of the plans of the white supremacists, the black female vagina and its value is to become obsolete, and the white male anus is to be the new black vagina for black males. Black females are directly or indirectly being taught that the holy grail of supreme sexual real estate is the white female vagina. Unquote.
Unquote. Being taught that. Wow. Let's go to the phone lines, and line number 1, you are now on with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. What is your question? Go ahead, line number 1. You're on.
Is that hello?
Yes, you're on.
Okay. Greetings to the host and Mr. Fuller. My question is, when he says that the black female vagina will be replaced by the white male anus, is he saying that because of the, I'll say, energy that the white male, anti-sexual white male is trying to portray? Like, I'm in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and the disparity, well, not the disparity, but the difference in black people and white people, it seems that the white people outnumber the black people in this area, and in my observation, the quote-unquote gay white males that I see act like, or try to act like, black females.
Mr. Fuller?
Right, I haven't observed that, but, if that's what you have observed, observe it and come to your conclusions. I put out a statement that's either true or false, but I started with the word apparently, meaning that's just apparent to Neely Fuller. Maybe other people can see other things, including white people who will hear me say that, white supremacists included, who will say, wait a minute, this guy is saying something absurd, and he's saying something that's absolutely not true. This is all about sexual liberation. This is all about sexual democracy. This is all about the foundation of what our wonderful system is all about. The system of the free spirit, of freedom and justice and liberty. This is what this is all about. What is he talking about? Who is this crackpot, Neely Fuller, talking about this as some type of white supremacist conspiracy? And they can say that. And
Yes.
they should say that if they believe that. And then the average person listening to both sides, like I always say, listening to all sides of every point of view, regardless of what the source is. Listen to it. And then look at what's going on in front of you and come to your own conclusion.
Listen
this
and
is the
look.
whole essence of the compensatory code. Look, in order to seek truth, don't take anybody's argument and run with it without examining it. and that includes Neely Fuller's, that includes the white supremacist view, that includes the white people who are not white supremacists, that includes all of the people of the planet. Just listen to a person's words and go check yourself. Go and take a look at what you see. I mean, there's a reason why black males have systematically, young black males, have been systematically taught. They didn't invent this about walking around with your pants hanging down around the bottom of your rear end. What is this rear end emphasis about? This is what you call message pants. Now, I'm not criticizing it. I'm saying observe it. And you can even ask the person who is doing it, what message are you sending? What message do you want people to receive? And then once they get the message, what are they supposed to say, think, and last but not least, do about the message that you are sending, if you are sending a message? It could be that the person who's walking around with his pants hanging down will say, man, what you talking about? I ain't sending no message, and get out of my business. Don't be asking me no questions. And the person has a duty to say that if the person looks at it that way.
Yes, sir.
But evidently, when people do things deliberately, because I see guys, a lot of black males who wear their pants down below the belt line like that, I mean, down below the buttocks, I mean, deliberately wrestling, actually feverishly trying to get that belt just right so that the pants are just hanging just at the right angle or whatever it is they're doing. And in other words, you're making an effort to do this. Anytime you're making an effort to do anything, particularly if you want people to walk around and look at it, you're putting on a show of some type, you should be able to explain the show. You should be able to. That's just logical. Hey, I'm putting on a show. I want all you people driving by in your cars and whatnot to slow down and stop and look at what I'm doing. I'm doing something important here. I got something going here that you people are missing out on. I mean, if you don't get this as a part of your life, your life must be all messed up. So I'm showing you my pants down. I got a message for doing this.
Okay.
I might even be advertising a new type of underwear. Y'all need to see this. I mean, you know, and I'm selling underwear.
So listen, look, and evaluate.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
That's all it's about. It's not criticizing anything like that. It's asking questions.
Okay.
Why? Because the code says all problems
are solved.
All confusion is eliminated through the process of questions and answers.
Yes, sir.
Can I get one more question?
If it's real quick, because I'm up against it.
The question is, could he explain why it would be a bad decision and or dangerous for a black male to date a white female?
All right. Thank you for your call. Mr. Fuller?
Why is it now? What? I didn't get the question.
Go ahead, sir. Could you repeat that one more time?
Why it would be dangerous and or a bad decision for a black male to date a white woman.
Okay. All right. Thank you. To date a white woman. Okay.
Oh, it may not be dangerous in this day and time. Depends on where you are. In fact, the white supremacists at one time would hang a black person, shoot him, run him down, and kill him, or string him up to a tree just for thinking about looking at a white woman. Now, like Elijah Muhammad said, I'll mention one name. He said, because I heard him say this many years ago, say now they will lynch you for not being with them, chasing a white woman and whatnot. What's that all about? Why this sudden change? And I came to the conclusion it's a part of the new white supremacist refined stage of racism. White supremacy goes through 4 stages, and I say that many white supremacists, not all of them, are in that refined stage. The refined stage of white supremacists make it look like it's not white supremacy anymore.
Okay.
And in order to do that, you have to have a lot of black males strutting down the boulevards with a white woman on their arm. And that's supposed to give the impression worldwide that the race problem is solved.
Okay.
It's all over.
Yeah.
Because the black male is supposed to have as his crowning achievement getting that finally getting a white woman that he can strut down the street with and show off to the neighbors and whatnot and say, I finally got me one, folks. I finally got me one. Everybody look at me. I mean, free at last.
Yeah. I think that's equivalent. I don't know about where you came from, but that was equivalent to I was told at one time if a black man got a Cadillac, he made it. So everybody was shooting to get a Cadillac.
That was the standard.
Yeah, you had to get a Cadillac. Okay. Wow. You made a statement earlier about the LGBT and Q community. I want to go back to that. Under the banner of what we've been talking about today, the sexual confusion, and then you made your statement concerning the LGBT and Q community. I noticed that heterosexuality was not mentioned, and then you mentioned something about a counter-racist a code, for that. Are heterosexuals or straight people being eliminated from this sexual confusion?
I saw yesterday on television somebody brought that up. They say, hey, we're not even mentioned. And then the response was, that's because that's kind of taken for granted. In fact, the category is called what? It's called straight.
Yes,
but
straight.
Actually, if you're going to be democratic, you list all categories.
Okay.
See, so actually, I guess, someone can bring it up. How come the straights are being left out? That should be since that's the largest category, presumably, as it is now in 2016, that would be the first category. And then the other categories would be what they started out being, alternatives.
LGBTQ
yes,
would be
alternative categories.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to, be democratic, you list all the categories. Plus all the categories, I understand, they probably have about 20 or 30 more, just like they did with the racial categories. It started out being 3. Now it's 21 as of the year, I think the year 2000.
Yeah.
It's 21 categories, even though people haven't changed that much.
Yeah.
So, but according to the compensatory code, it's just 3 racial categories. White, non-white, and white supremacists. Don't move outside of that.
Right, more confusion. Okay, let's go to the phone lines. Line number 1, what is your question for Mr. Neely Fuller Jr.?
Yes. Good morning. First of all, good morning to both of you gentlemen there. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Look, Mr. Now, you realize I just got in here, so I haven't been listening. Also, you guys still are, I can't pick you up on the streamer, so I'd like to hang on while you're answering the question. Now, there was another one of these police shootings in New Orleans. I think it was Baton Rouge. Now, Mr. Fuller, you always say that expect to be shot. I mean, even if we're cooperating, in your opinion, we should still expect it, right? Because we don't know how the other person, he could just be a very difficult type of white person. In some cases, maybe even a black officer. So that's going to be like the first question. Now, second of all, when we do have black officers, it seems, and I've said this before, we usually don't see black officers really going at it with white people. I mean, it always, unless it's just giving some kind white direction, that's all I ever see a black guy doing. I mean, it seems like it's more beneficial for black people on the job, whether it's civil service, police, military, to actually go against other blacks and help whites harass and set them up. I mean, padding their pensions and getting bonuses. I mean, this whole thing, I mean, we got to create some unity somehow and get it together and realize that we, especially the descendants of the slave, because we're not being respected and we're just scared. There's nothing wrong with being scattered as long as you got unity. So talk to me about this first question that I asked about the expect to being shot, and then this black police thing, and everything I just mentioned there.
Expect it as long as you have the system of white supremacy. It goes with the package. Look at it as if you are non-white and you're on this planet, you are already a prisoner of war. You were born in a prison. And there's a war going on before you were born. Everybody on this planet now this war started before anybody on this who is on this planet now was born.
Mm-hmm.
It's called the war of the white supremacists against the people who are classified as non-white. That war is still going on, but you can't really call it a war as such because all of the non-white people on the planet have been captured. They're in captivity. That's what white supremacy means. It means supreme. It's not something that's in the process of getting started. It's something that's complete. So everyone who is in the planet, on the planet now, who is classified as non-white, is already a prisoner of war. So when you are a prisoner of war, just like looking at the old prisoner of war movies, and anything that you do to displease the prison masters, you're subject to get shot. Now, in a prison, you have trustees.
Yeah.
All right? Now, the trustees will shoot you.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Fuller, but they were telling me I have to take a break. Hang on for a minute, we'll get to that.
Okay.
All right, TalkTainMenRadio.com. We go where you go. Check us out on WCRS-FM 98.3. Wednesdays and Sunday evenings, blogs and podcasts are available. Download the TalkTainMenRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. Stay right there. We're going to have Mr. Fuller. That's radio for you. TalkTainMenRadio.com. We go where you go, and you can download the TalkTainMenRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. This is Mr. Bobby, the co-host on the compensatory concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., who has spoken to and still is today's topic, which has been sexual confusion, and we've had many calls concerning that. And if you would like to get in on that discussion, or if you have something that you would like for Mr. Fuller to address, and we can get you on the air, you can do so by calling 1-877-932-9766, or you can Gmail me at 7mrbobby@gmail.com. If you do use the Gmail, it's not going to get on the air today. I can tell you that right now. But we will take your calls and statements there. What line there, sir? Okay, line number 2, because the other line, Mr. Fuller, the gentleman, for some reason got disconnected, so we'll have to go on. Okay, line number 2, you are now on with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. What is your question? Hello? Line number 2?
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I was the caller that asked.
Oh, okay.
A white female, and the online connection isn't working, so I didn't get to hear the answer.
Okay.
And other than having Mr. Fuller repeat himself, because there's not a lot of time left in the program, my question to you is, how long after the program ends will the podcast post?
Now, that I'm not sure. I just handled the speaking part. I'm not sure about that, but I'm glad that you mentioned that you couldn't hear the program over the Internet. A lot of people can't. As I mentioned in the first hour, the technicians are working with that to resolve that issue. Now, my apologies go out to you and to all the listeners who cannot hear the program over the Internet. I don't know why that is going on. I have my suspicions as to why that is, but they are working on that. So, again, thank you for bringing it to the attention for those who are on the phone trying to listen to the program. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, what line, Galen? Okay, line number 3? Is that 3? Okay, line number 3, you are now on with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. What is your question?
Well, my question is the same as the caller before. My name is Doug, and I also have a question concerning the shooting in Louisiana.
Okay, Doug, one question at a time. What's your first question?
Well, the most important thing is the shooting in Louisiana. And could Mr. Fuller elaborate on how are we supposed to deal with the approaches of the police?
Okay.
And the fact that with all these shootings, we still are being shot. And in many cases, we are still resisting. So can Mr. Fuller enlighten and elaborate on what he thinks the approach should be?
All right, Mr. Fuller?
I recommend in the code and in all my talks the same thing that I do. I'm absolutely terrified when I see those blinking lights in my rearview mirror. I'm terrified because I know where I am. I'm in the system of white supremacy. There's some baggage that goes with that. And terrorism is a part of that baggage. Now, the person that comes up to that side of the car and says, let me see your license and registration, that person may act in a very mild and, you might say, quote, unquote, civil manner. Consider yourself lucky if that happens. Just consider yourself lucky if that happens, and that you're not snatched out of there and beaten to a pulp or shot in the back of the head. I mean, with no explanation, no nothing. I mean, that is what you should expect to happen. So, therefore, I say three things. I call it the 3 F's.
Don't fuss.
Don't fuss. Don't fight. And don't flee. Stop playing around. I see people on these police chase programs and whatnot. I mean, what is this? I mean, I don't have that kind of mentality at all. I know better. That doesn't pay at all. Where are you going when you jump out and run? I mean, jumping across fences and running through backyards with dogs chasing you and whatnot. I mean, what is this? I mean, a lot of people, some of them in their 30s and 40s, do that kind of thing, apparently. Like they're still 12 years old, and this is some type of cowboy game, I mean, that you see in the movies or something. Take that, don't look at this as fun. You'll get killed.
You'll get killed.
You will get killed. You will get killed. And all that MF this and MF that and what you doing and get your hands off of me, that will get you in a worse situation than you started with. I haven't seen that be successful at all.
Yes.
In any case, no case have I saw that type of activity be successful.
Okay.
I mean, you're not on a school ground. I mean, and this is recess. I mean, so all you do, think of yourself as a prisoner of war, and you've been caught on that wire fence.
Yes. What is your second question, sir?
Well, the second question has to do with the caller before me talking about they can't get the program online.
Yes.
Every time I try to get it, I get this 503 saying unavailable, try later.
Yes. That's not your fault. We are working on that, and I've addressed that, but again, for those of you who can't or are having that issue, it's not your problem. It's a problem that the station is working on. So I was told when I came in this morning, they are working on it, and it should be available next week, but I have no knowledge of what they are doing or why that is happening like that. I have my suspicions, but I do not know for sure. But they are aware of it, and they are working on the problem.
Okay, thank you very much.
You are welcome. All righty. Let's see, Galen, where are we at here? Line number, what is that? 1? Okay. Line number 1, you are now on with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Wait a minute. Before I go to, let me get this out of the way before Galen gives me the sign. TalkTimeRadio.com. We go where you go. Download the TalkTimeRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. This is Mr. Bobby, along with Mr. Neely Fuller. I am the co-host. Mr. Fuller is the, you might as well say he's the host, one of the hosts here on TalkTimeRadio.com. You're listening to The Compensatory Concept. You can also get his book, which we highly recommend, the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept, and he has a new one out, or rather a revised, let me get that wording correct, a revised expanded edition of the counter-racist code. It's available by going to producejustice.com, and you may obtain your copy for that fee. Okay, line number 1, go ahead. You are now on with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Line number 1?
Hello?
Yes, you are on now.
Good morning. How you doing, Mr. Bobby? How you doing, Mr. Fuller?
Good.
This is my first time actually calling in, but I've been listening to Mr. Fuller for quite some time. So forgive me, I'm a little nervous. My name is Terrence, and I stay in Illinois. I stay in out of 3 hours away, 4 hours away from Chicago, whatnot, in Peoria, Illinois, and whatnot, the city part. And my main question is, I noticed black males, we tend to have a real hard problem doing things that make sense without arguing, fighting, like always competing, ego, always getting in the way of things. And I don't know why we can't break that down and understand we can't come to a compromise on many occasions. So I was curious to know Mr. Fuller's opinion about that.
Yes, it's logical that black males act the way that we do. I'm a black male. I understand that completely. I came up just like all other black males, I mean, with all the things that are going on. In fact, I mean, I came up in a place where, compared to nowadays, it was a whole lot worse. You know, when the signs were up, rear seat for colored drinking water. Don't you go through the back door and take your hat off, Negro. You're talking to a white person. Are you crazy? Are you crazy? Do you want to die here? Where are you coming from? You must be one of them Yankee, N-words or whatever. I came up around that. See what I mean? So I've seen the whole pattern. I've seen all the changes that have been made, and I've seen all the thousands of changes that need to be made, millions of changes, because we're nowhere near where we ought to be. So I'm saying I understand this completely, and black males act the way we do because we want to be men, but we are told at a very early age when we begin to understand what a man is and what a man isn't, the difference between a man and a boy. Yes, we are told, you know what, you got color in your skin. You will never be a man. You are in the system of white supremacy. You will always be a child. So we expect you to act like a child, not responsible for anything, don't have any sense about anything, and like children do. Get out there in the backyard, and in 5 minutes you're fighting about nothing. And that's the way we want to keep you people, because the only man that's going to be on this planet is going to have white skin. Get that in your thick Negro head. It's going to be that way. It's called white supremacy. So we want you black people to get over there on the other side of the tracks and hunt each other down like rabbits. I'll give you the guns, because you won't have any unless I give them to you. I mean, you don't have anything, including food on your table, unless I give it to you. And I have to give it to you through your grandmother, who's trying to raise you, and she's got a big job that she's never going to complete, because you ain't going to get raised in the system of white supremacy. You're going to be stretched out at about age 16 from gunfire from the fellas that you went to school with, or if you get beyond that, I'm going to gun you down, because I have to keep the population of you people down to a certain extent. But you all are not going to be told all of this in the schools by your teachers, because then if they try to teach you these things, I'm going to fire them. I'm a white supremacist, and don't you ever forget it, boy. There ain't nothing on this planet that you should ever fear as much as you fear me. All you Negroes with your gangs and whatnot, you can kill each other all you want to, but don't you ever get in my face and even say anything that I don't like, or you'll find out what hell is.
All righty. Thank you, caller, for your call.
Mr. Bobby, can I add one more thing? Can I
Yes,
ask
sir.
one more thing? Appreciate it. Also, Mr. Fuller, where I live at in the Midwest, it's a high level, pardon me, of this interracial thing going on. It's highly productive on the about the black males, but it seems like it's beginning to increase more with the black females. And it's like I can notice like the real animosity there still, between black males doing that with white females, and black females tend to notice this. It's kind of like we just working against each other to be doing this. Like the black male does this, or the black female does that. Is that making sense to you? Or
no, I'm not getting your basic question.
Yeah, the basic question is it's the high productivity of interracial dating. stuff going on in the area where I live.
Okay, yeah, they're dating there's a lot of interracial dating going on where you're at.
Among the black males.
Yeah. Oh, among the black males?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
all right.
high.
Okay, I'll have Mr. Fuller take that one while we disconnect from you. Mr. Fuller, you had mentioned that under this system of racism, white supremacy, that it is not a good thing for if I doing it correctly, saying it correctly, your view on interracial dating.
It's the white supremacists who are orchestrating it.
Yes. Okay.
They got control of it. I mean, on the surface, it looks great. All right, hey, I mean, come by, I mean, we all together. I mean, we all the same people, white, non-white. I mean, we all for each other and all like that, not under the system of white supremacy. They are controlling this.
Yes, okay.
Just like they controlled it back when they say you better not look at a white person if you are a black male. You better not look at a white female. I mean, with anything except your hat in your hand and your eyes down on the ground.
Down on the ground, yes.
Yes. I mean, don't even look her in the eye. You're not good enough, black boy.
Yeah. So now they're saying it's okay.
Saying, oh yes, we're going to release
a
certain percentage of white women to you black males because this is a part of our new deception, and that's going to give the illusion that everything is okay. And we're going to have more and more black males paired off with black females, black males flexing their muscles and taking off their shirt and being the super stud and all of this. I mean, we're going to display it on television and put it in the movies and whatnot. More and more black males in bed with white women. Lots of wiggling and giggling going on there and showing off, all right? But the white supremacists, according to compensatory counter-racist logic, are controlling it, every bit of it. And just like everything else, we are unaware because just like, the conversation we usually have, we talk like there's something outside of the system of white supremacy. There's nothing that happens on this planet that's outside of the system of white supremacy.
So by their control, they have introduced, again, as usual, the usual suspect, and that is confusion.
Confusion. That causes confusion.
Yes, sir.
That's why we are the ones who have questions. They don't have questions. They just got answers.
Okay. I got a question from the Gmail. Drew says, what does the code say about victims of white supremacy sharing their goals and aspirations with other victims? The same question with regard to non-white people sharing their goals and aspirations with white people. Have you seen or experienced this, and do you believe it to be constructive or non-constructive?
Well, everything should be in the category of everything that non-white people do, and that's the part of the code.
Yes, sir.
All day long, ask yourself this question: is this activity constructive or non-constructive? And if it's constructive, how is it constructive? Anything that anybody proposes to you, anything that anybody wants you to do, is it constructive or non-constructive? Because that's what counter-racist science is all about. Counter-racist codification is about making a distinction, a sharp distinction, between everything that is constructive and everything that is non-constructive, and be able to tell the difference. If you have confusion about the difference, you need to get rid of that confusion before you make any move, before you say anything or do anything. This move you're getting ready to make, is it going to be constructive or non-constructive?
Okay.
There's no such thing as in between.
Okay. Brother from French Guiana wrote this, or so-called French Guiana. He said that the black female vagina and her value is become obsolete, and the white male anus is the new black vagina. Is this correct, Mr. Fuller?
Yes, that's what the white supremacists are putting out here. See, they're doing it not directly, but for the most part, but this is what it all means. And in some cases, they're doing it directly. They're practically saying it because they figure that black people, they can't figure anything out.
Right.
All they know is whatever we tell them. And then they go and mimic it, and try to get a black version of it. It'll be the same thing, just like all all the gangsters that are out here, all the black gangsters, I mean, where did they get the gangster concept from? They got it from us because we teach them, but they think they originated gangsterism.
Yes.
We know about gangsterism, I mean, on a huge scale. We got the biggest gang that the world has ever seen. It's called the system of white supremacy. I mean, that's why they don't mess with us. They just mess with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same way with the sexual confusion.
Right.
And, it's just anything that will cause confusion, because if it's 10 people in a room and that 10th person is not confused, that's the most powerful person in that room.
Yes, sir.
That's a law of physics. That's a law of the universe.
Okay. Let's take our final call. Line number 1. You are now on with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. What is your question?
Yes. I got a comment.
It has to be quick because we are really up against time. Go ahead.
Okay, yes. So, comment. He was saying that, black men going and being with white women and so forth, but it's a game. It's a game within a game, real quick. That what I tend to see is that black women are asserting themselves more, and that black men find that they are in combat with them. So I would like you to touch on that real quick.
Okay, Mr. Fuller, you want to touch on that?
Yes, that's a part of the white supremacist conspiracy. In other words, they are making black males more and more effeminized. These are the most acceptable black males, those that act effeminate.
The one that
These
they emasculate?
act like they are absolutely wild.
Yes.
These are the two categories. And they're taking the black female and making her more masculine, so that they're going to finally put her in the army with a white woman.
Well, say that again. The black females becoming more masculine?
Black females are becoming more and more defeminized.
Wow.
And they're going to pair off these defeminized black females, take all the femininity out of them, and place them in bed with masculinized white women.
Wow.
And send them off here and yon in uniforms to fight and die in each other's arms, I mean, as expendables. The white women will be what you call white sacrifices. The black females will just be business as usual, a way to get rid of black people.
Expendable.
For the profit of the system of white supremacy.
Wow. That's a powerful statement you just made there. But that's been your observation of what's going on.
Oh, that's been evolving for some time now, like 30 or 40 years.
Wow.
But slowly it's getting right to the peak now. But they did it real slow, just like you do when you're deceiving someone.
Right.
You do it slowly. You take your time. If you do it all at once, people will notice it. All right? But they're doing it. More and more black females are saying, hey, these black males ain't no good. Ain't none of them no good. I mean, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all stressed out. I got a lot of sexual energy. What am I going to do with it?
And they are.
I mean, I'm tired of having babies, because as soon as I have a baby, the black males around here in the neighborhood kill him when he's 16 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, so it ain't no point in that. I just won't have no babies. I'll get me a dog.
Yeah.
I mean, and
a
white woman, and call it square.
Yeah. Okay, man, that last statement just completely blew up the phone lines, and we apologize that you cannot get in. But, Mr. Fuller, we'd like to give you, as we wind down the program, your last words or thoughts that you'd like to convey.
Well, I think that's good enough for the last word for right now.
Oh man, that was very powerful. But your explanation is correct. Listen, sorry, and I apologize that we did not get to your calls. I apologize that we're having